Shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem and Havashai Ba'Hashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders at the great millstone who taught me this truth, and much respect to the Akim at the Laban and his work. Peace and salutation to the hopefully elect who are scattered abroad in the USA. Shalom. So I want to go into just a quick lesson through the Spirit, just showing you how these devils are pretty much honing in on the testimony of Yahushua. Because when you read the Bible, it tells you how these devils are plotting against us and what we teach, which goes back into upright conversation, dealing with the complete overthrow of America, Babylon the Great, also the land of Israel, and pretty much Esau's entire power structure, paving way for the kingdom of heaven as prophesied in the book of Daniel, the second chapter, and also the seventh chapter, in which you would have 4 kings which would arise, stemming from the Syrian, Babylonian, the Medo-Persian, the Greeks, and then the Romans being that 4th beast, which came back in the form of America, Babylon the Great, and this entire beast system, the EU and the NATO, in which at the downfall of this power structure, is going to be, the starting point of the kingdom of heaven, that's going to be established forever, in which these things had to be spoken first, which is what these devils know and understand. So by default, they're attacking, what we teach, not directly, but, indirectly, using craftiness and subtlety. So this is what this goes into. All right, so I'm going to go into a couple articles and, kind of break it down and show you exactly what they're targeting. All right, because what we teach is very powerful. So let's first get this in Revelation 12 and 17, which is the point in which we're about to enter into. All right, as we see Esau's pretty much pissed off at Israel, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. And so it says, and the dragon was wroth with a woman. All right, the dragon being, the 4th beast, the Roman Empire, which came back in the form of America, Babylon the Great, and its entire beast system. So the system, began with America, was wroth with the woman, pissed off at Israel. And this is the reason why you see so-called blacks and Latinos and Native Americans, who they have deemed as criminals or illegal immigrants, being persecuted. All right, he's pissed off at the woman and went to make war with the remnant. It says all about the remnant of her seed. All right, Israel's seed, which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, which pretty much entails you departing from the ways, philosophies, and policies of America, Babylon the Great. The complete ideology of America is thrown away, when you come into this truth. And by default, you despise everything that's established here by Esau Edom, to the point of where you speak against it, to the point of overthrow, And so that pretty much begins with a testimony against these devils, accusing him unto the Father, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. All right, screaming for justice. So this is what's going to take place very soon, as these devils are, literally being consumed by the word, as you read in 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8, where the wicked will be revealed. The Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth by the prophets, and then shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So all in all, the dragon is pinpointing the remnant who have departed from, his ideology, his ways, and which basically this is the ultimate form of his slave revolt. So as you read here from democracynow.org, and before I get into that, let's grab something else real quick also, as I was reading from the People's Voice. So here it says, ADL declares criticizing Israel is now a capital offense in America. Okay, so let's scroll down and we'll get to the point. Because basically what they're going to do is try to regulate this word and take away free speech and, what you're able to say against these people because they've been consumed. So the ADL isn't just a watchdog, it's an intelligence arm of a foreign government profile Americans, shaping narratives, deciding who gets to speak and who disappears. And when Netanyahu or Satan Yahoo declares the internet Israel's new battleground. Let me read it again. And when Satan Yahoo declares the internet Israel's new battleground, it's not just a line, it's a warning. Critics won't be debated. There'll be erased, lives rewritten, voices buried. Okay, again, going to that family of the word. So let's scroll down to what this is really aimed at before we get into the other article. So right here, say the ADL is now attempting to rewrite history and build a narrative against Christians and conservatives. And we know that the true Christians, man, according to the Bible, are the Israelites. It says, branding those with a Christian identity as dangerous extremists and framing the Bible itself as hate speech. See? So they want to identify those who are teaching pretty much the scriptures as dangerous extremists. And also they want to frame the Bible itself as hate speech. You see? So just wanted to throw it out there real quick before I go into this article from Democracy Now, where it says Trump directive classifies anti-capitalism and anti-American views as domestic terrorism. So anti-capitalism, we're going to go into these terms and see, pretty much what they mean. So right here, your anti-capitalism is a political ideology and movement encompassing a variety of attitudes and ideas that oppose capitalism. So anti-capitalists seek to combat the worst effects of capitalism and to eventually replace capitalism with alternative economic systems such as socialism and communism. So basically, anti-capitalism is talking about replacing the whole system in a nutshell, right? And so as far as anti-American views being looked at as domestic terrorism, what I did is I went into ChatGPT and I said, what would be considered anti-American views? So anti-American views generally refers to ideas, attitudes, or actions that oppose or reject the values, policies, culture, or institutions of the United States. However, what's considered anti-American can depend on who is defining it. So the government officials, citizens, media, or social groups, since opinions on patriotism and criticism vary widely. So here's a breakdown of what's often labeled as anti-American, though not all criticism of the U.S. automatically qualifies. So it goes and says common examples of views often called anti-American: wishing harm on the U.S. or its people. And the text on the Yahushua, fix that category, because we're praying for fire to come down on Babylon the Great in the form of ICBM nukes, and Yahushua with the chariots. So openly supporting violence. See, we openly express this truth. We're not hiding it. We on the highways and byways and let it be known amongst the world, as the Lord told us to do. This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. In which we have found out that the end is really dealing with the end of this current society, Esau's kingdom. Saying that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it to follow it. So yeah, we openly supporting violence, not saying that we're going to do anything, but the Lord is. Terrorism or the downfall of the U.S. government. This is all we speak about. The ruling of America, Babylon the Great, and this entire system. Rejecting U.S. founding principles. For example, opposing constitutional democracy, freedom of speech, or individual rights as evil or illegitimate. So let's scroll on down. Yep, supporting foreign enemies, expressing sympathy for groups or governments that attack or threaten the U.S. So basically, the testimony of Yahushua entails Russia, even America's allies, these different nations who have nuclear capabilities, destroying America, Babylon the Great. So in a sense, yeah, we do root for these different nations because they're being used by Yahweh Shemashah to uproot America, Babylon the Great. Verse 4, calling for the destruction or overthrow of the U.S., wanted to replace its government or system entirely by force. You see, because America's going to go down violently. Thus, with violence, should that great city Babylon be thrown down and not be found anymore at all? See? So this is what we're calling for. We're calling for fire to come from heaven so we can see how these different points, really go back into the testimony of Yahushua. Number 5, betraying America is purely evil. This is the place that has made all the earth drunken, with the wine of our philosophies. This is the reason why the earth is corrupt, man. This is the cancer. So yeah, we call out America's wickedness, man. Betraying America is purely evil, denying any positive contributions or moral worth to the country as a whole. All right, you got the LGBTQ movement that's spreading rapidly. America pushes forth this democracy, freedom to do as you will, which is against the Most High across the earth. All right, so this is what we speak out against. So what I want to do is scroll on down because I asked, chat another question, which points directly to us. So what I said was, which Hebrew Israelite group would be considered anti-American? So here's a summary of some so-called black Hebrew Israelites groups, in which are not black at all. Right? We come in many different shades, even so-called whites, who line go back into Jacob are Israelites. It says a subset of the broader Hebrew Israelite movement that are often cited as having anti-American or extremist views, and what makes them be seen that way, being labeled anti-American, is often a matter of how strongly a group opposes U.S. institutions, ideology, or considers the U.S. as corrupt, oppressive, etc. All right, it doesn't automatically mean violence or terrorism, right? In which we're not going to do anything, according to our own hands. It's going to be up to the Lord. We just call them, back for vengeance. So key groups and what makes them controversial, anti-American. The number one group on here, as you can see, is Great Millstone, GMS, a radical so-called black Hebrew Israelite sect that believes the U.S. is the whore of Babylon. And there's no mystery anymore. All right. Yeah, we believe that. All right. But that's pretty much common. It's common now. It's common to link America with Babylon the Great. So this is what we teach primarily, is that America is that place, and that is going to be, as you read on, and that there's an imminent end or apocalypse involving the U.S. See, they hold extreme anti-white racist views. All right, extreme. Well, like I was saying before, even so-called white people can be considered, Israelites if their seed goes back into Jacob. So really, we're anti-Edom. We hold anti-Edom views, or which primarily consists of so-called white men, But it says they hold extreme anti-white racist views, believe so-called white people or the white race are descended from Esau, in which they are, and see them as enemies to be destroyed. So what's more extreme than saying something like this, man? That Esau, even the so-called white man in his kingdom, is going to be uprooted and destroyed. And they're going to go into captivity and be Obadiah 1:18. They hold extreme anti-white racist views. All right, I just read that. So it says their belief system includes apocalyptic visions of World War III, right? Thermal destruction, rejection of many American norms, and hostility towards key American institutions. So the number one group, as I want to point out, is Great Millstone. So really, when they are coming after the Israelites, we see how this is pretty much dwindling it down to those who speak out completely against his establishment, man, which links back into what Great Millstone. So let's go to the book of Psalms 37 and verse 11, because what we're speaking about a kingdom. Verse 11, but the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. So peace cannot really come except this place America gets destroyed first. And that's what we have come to find out. Let's go ahead and grab that real quick. I think that second that is 4 and 28. Yep. So it says here, 26, then answered he me and said, the more thou searchest, the more thou shalt marvel, and for the word hasteneth fast to pass away. And this current word is going to pass away with a great noise, as you read in 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, those nukes, and cannot comprehend the things that are promised to the righteous in time to come. And this is the word in which we're looking for, man. Peace, the kingdom of heaven. For this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities. It's corrupt. But as concerning the things where thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, and where is that place? That will be America, known as Babylon the great whore that has corrupted the earth. So if the place where the evil is sown pass not away by thermonuclear fire, then cannot it come that is sown with good. All right. So this complete system has to be uprooted for true peace to take place. So going back to Psalm 37, verse 11, but the meek or the elect, the remnant, who have the testimony and keep the commandments of the Most High shall inherit the earth, because it was made for our sakes, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. But the wicked, so with them understanding the report, it says the wicked plotteth against the just. You see, this is what they're doing. That's why they're linking us up with domestic terrorism and classifying us in these different groups and ideologies, and gnash upon them with his teeth. And that's the reason also that you got why you got also got the troops being stationed in these different cities, because they're getting ready to press upon the remnant, man. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. So basically, Esau's feeble attempt to overthrow prophecy is going to fail. The Bible already outlines Esau's defeat, so he's doing nothing more than fulfilling his lot of being against the Most High, in which he's really been set up and snared himself, as he's going to come after the elect, just like ancient Pharaoh during the time of Egypt. But that didn't pan out well, so it's going to be the same story this time. They're going to try, but they're going to fail. So the Lord is laughing at this guy. So the wicked have drawn out the sword, all right, pretty much set up these legislations, executive orders or whatnot, all right, to persecute the poor, because it tells you in Wisdom of Solomon, real quick. Hey, the Bible is real, man. Every word. So Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 10 is how these elites, counsel with themselves concerning us. So it says, let us oppress the poor and the righteous man. All right. The poor represents Jacob. And let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age. And let our strength be the law of justice. So their strength comes from them sign off on these different unrighteous decrees, these different executive orders, so on and so forth. For that which is feeble found to be nothing worse. So them sign off on these legislations is going to allow them to come forth. Verse 12, therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous. See, because he is not for our turn. We are not for Esau's turn. His time is up. He was given the earth to rule, and he has proved himself to be an unfit ruler. So now it's time for the Lord to set up a new management. And he is clean, yet we're clean contrary to their doings. See? Which means that we are departed from the ways of Esau. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objected to our infamy the transgressions of our education. See? So basically, their laws and everything that they sign off is really aimed toward us, the remnant, who have this testimony that is speaking out against Esau, and calling him out for his wickedness. Matter of fact, let's continue reading. He professed to have the knowledge of the Most High, and we do. And he called himself the child of the Lord. And this is the problem. We call ourselves the Hebrew Israelites, the true Hebrew Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, Native American, this is a problem. It was made to reprove our thoughts. See? So we were made to condemn Esau. He is grievous unto us even to behold, you know? Because when they see us, man, constantly making videos day in and day out, and Great Millstone is constantly putting up videos more than any other group, man. So by default, we know who they're targeting. So we're grievous unto him even to behold. It's like he is grievous unto us even to behold. For his life is not like other men's, his ways of another fashion. All right. And we can read on in that, but we'll just go back into the point. In Psalm 37:14, the wicked are drawn out the sword, begin with the legislations or executive orders, and have bent their bow, all right, to cast down the poor and needy. It speaks about how they are secretly shooting at the poor. All right. It says, and to slay, such as be of upright conversation, those who speak the truth, those who condemn wickedness, man. That's upright conversation. So it says, their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bow shall be broken. See, so they're going to fall upon their own sword, you know, which is pretty much, the Lord sent up, you know, nuclear war for these devils, man, to destroy their kingdom. Because that council that said they're setting up, you know, is going to backfire. They're going to fall into the snare in which they made. You see, the pit in which they made, which is basically a snare. You see that? So we see how they're, you know, subtly, craftily, you know, targeting those who are speaking out against this system. So, you know, when these devils come, they will, you know, be aimed at the elect. But we know that according to what prophecy, there's going to be a standard that will be lifted, as we always read Isaiah 59:19. And so shall they fear the name of the Lord Yahweh Shemashah from the west. And this is what's happening right now. We're fearing those names in the West, America. And his glory from the rising of the sun, because Yahweh is coming from the east. When the enemy should come in like a flood, you know, with these troops. Even had this devil, Stephen Miller, says that, you know, we are the storm. All right. We have awakened a great dragon, something to that effect. So yeah, this is real. They are that dragon, and they're going to bring the storm, the flood. So when the enemy, Esau and his troops, comes in like a flood, the spirit of the Lord, Yahweh Shemashah, shall lift up a standard against him in the form of what? Divine intervention, protection, spiritual power. They have been raised up with mighty power. You know, you disappearing, or a chariot stepping in and zapping these forces, causing them to go blind. All right, we have the account. So whatever the Lord decides to do on behalf of the elect is going to be known in that day that Esau pretty much fucked with the wrong ones. You know, he's going to get his hands on the 2/3, but for the elect, he's going to find out that was the wrong move. So, yeah, just want to go through that real quick. So, Lord willing, you're edified. Till next time I say, Shalom.